Alright, I got my trusty winter. These are actually gloves designed for bow hunting, but they're good fishing gloves because, you know, for target, index finger, and thumb, it's got extra sensitivity for being able to pull a bow and load your arrow and all that. So they're not bad for fishing. You just can't touch the fish because they're cloth. But they do keep your hands warm, and you are able to cast a spinning rod with these gloves. So I move my finger that I'm pinching the braid with back and forth along with the spool to try to keep my backing level. And then every so often I check it. I don't really need much more braid on here. Maybe a couple more passes. Oh, and again, guys, I like to back my reels with 30-pound. I don't know why. It just seems like a good common size for most of my casting gear. You know, your 12, anything from 12 to 20 bites into 30-pound pretty good. And the uni to uni knot sizes, if you go 5 and 5, seem to be like the perfect barrels that aren't gonna one be bigger than the other or one slip past the other, you know what I mean? Because they're like the same diameter. So that's about where I'm gonna make my cut. As you can see right here, I still have a good bit of yards worth to put my main line on. And I like to put, you know, I can't tell because I don't have a counter, but I like to put hopefully enough backing on there to where I can buy, let's say I get a 200 yard spool of shooter. Hopefully I can get 2 fills out of it because I got that much backing on. So where when I make a super long cast, I mean, this is a jig rod. It's not designed, it's not, you know, jigs, heavy Texas rigged worms, mag drafts, stuff like that. I'm not going to be making super long casts with it in the first place, but it's still nice to be able to get 2 fills out of 1 filler spool. That's always my objective. It doesn't always work out like that, but it's nice when when that happens. So as you can see, I mean, for $7.99 for 150 yards of the Vicious 4 carrier, it's good backing braid. That's what I keep it for. I barely ever use it for a main line. I don't really care for it in that aspect. I found cheaper lower end braids like Bass Pro Shops. What is that? Excel line? Believe it or not, that braid is actually decent for 10 bucks. It is. I've landed a pretty big fish where that was my main line. And I think I went, you know, my typical Shaw Grigsby uni to improve clinch, but I'm just going to do a basic uni to uni here. So I'm going to grab 2 fingers worth, make my loop. 1. This 17-pound Vicious copolymer. 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to pull that one and get to hold both lines and cinch it. So see that? How there's your first barrel. Now you find your braid end. grab your 2 fingers worth. So like so, I'm holding all the line right here. And I'm going to pinch the loop, and now I'm going to feed my braid through the copolymer and braid loop 5 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I'm going to snug that tight and make that barrel. So then you take your main and your braid, not the tags, and start to slowly work them down. See how they're butted up against each other? And now pull taut. That's not going nowhere. So then you take your tags, and isolate them by grabbing your main line and kind of protecting them. And here's how I do it. I just use my braid scissors and make like a generic cut and get rid of both. And then I get clippers out and I find the tag of the main line, and I use my thumb and index finger to protect it from clipping too much off. And then you get your braid scissors out and do the same. Use your thumbs and index finger to protect it from cutting too much off. I think it might be time for some new kudas. I got the Rapalas in my backpack. They're still pretty sharp. Okay, so we're done with that. Now I'm gonna spin back on here till it's taut. And I'm gonna take, there's a lot to this if you wanted to do it right and you know, come out with a nice level spool on a new setup. And this happens to be the nicest setup I now own, so I wanted to get it right from the jump. Now this part can be a little tricky because the braid wants to go draping all over everything. So what I do is I leave it some slack, and then I scooch on back in my office chair here until I pick up, see where the slack is. And now we're taut, and I'm just slowly going to start reeling, keeping tension on with my rod tip and with my fingers, and watching the spool the entire time. And here comes my connection knot. Ease right through the guide, and here we go. And as you can see, since this is a 7.2 heavy, it's all about rod angle. Will keep a good tension on, so I'm not over running as the line comes off that main spool that I'm using to fill up the reel. check it every once in a while, and you'll see right there's the bevel. You don't want to go past the bevel. So we got a couple more passes to make, and then we'll be done. All right, and there you have it. A evenly spooled right up to the bevel Shimano SLX 150 HG, which is the right hand retrieve 8-speed with the head gain frame. And I'm gonna have to cut this warranty information off. And believe me, we got another unseasonably warm day today, so I will be grabbing my jig box and going and getting this dialed in once my truck is out of the shop and done getting a universal joint on in the rear. Hopefully it won't be vibrating me half to death down the highway anymore. So that's how you do it, guys. Just make your cut so you can tie on your bait. Another thing I like to do is just give it a nice pull and let it dangle and relax where it's gonna stay. Obviously I'm getting pretty far down into this spool. So, and this is old. I've had this going on 3 years, maybe 3 seasons. So once you start getting low into deep into the spools, even of these big spools, it's gonna have some memory. I don't care what kind of line it is, especially fluorocarbon, but even copolymer. The reason why all these labels are off and it's marked with black marker is one thing you can do to reduce memory in these big spools, as long as you can get all the adhesive off, is just set it in a bucket of tap water submerged, or like an empty coffee can with the lid on it for like a week, and it'll take a lot of the memory out of at least a good portion of the layers. So that's it, guys. I know it's a long process, but if you're a nerd that pays attention to detail and likes to keep your gear in good shape, and you know, none of this stuff's cheap, so why not take care of it and do things properly, you know? So that's how I do it. I hope it was helpful. I know it was long and tedious and boring. I will find some background music to add in the background, and we will see you on the next one with some fish catches. So this is the guy with the GoPro fishing show, out for now. But just for now.